Water shouldn't smell like that, like rot and death and jungle and something else, something worse. The Mekong Delta smelled like the whole country was decomposing from the bottom up. I can still smell it. 2 years later, and I can still smell that brown water. Petty Officer Second Class Daniel Martinez. U.S. Navy. Swift Boat Crew, River Patrol Force. Task Force 116. They called us the Brown Water Navy. Cute name. Made it sound almost fun. Like we were playing around in some muddy river back home instead of hunting and being hunted in the most hostile waterway in the world. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. Desert. Dry heat. Mountains. Before Vietnam, I'd never seen anything like the Mekong. Never seen water that brown. Never seen jungle so thick you couldn't see 10 feet into it. Never seen rivers that could kill you just as fast as the enemy could. I joined the Navy in 1967, 20 years old. Figured the Navy was safer than the Army. Figured I'd be on a ship somewhere in the ocean, nice and safe, far from the fighting. That's what I told my mother. That's what I told myself. They sent me to swift boat training instead. Told me I'd be patrolling rivers in Vietnam, interdicting enemy supply lines, supporting ground operations, search and destroy missions. I didn't know what any of that meant. Not really. I found out in December 1968. That's when I arrived in country. That's when I first smelled the Delta. That's when I understood that water could be just as deadly as land. Maybe more deadly. Because on land, you can dig in, you can find cover, you can run. On the river, you're exposed. You're a target. You're moving through enemy territory at 8 knots with nowhere to hide. And the jungle on both sides is full of people who want to kill you. The swift boats were small, 50 feet long, aluminum hull, crew of 6, fast, maneuverable, armed with machine guns and a mortar. We ran patrols up and down the rivers and canals of the Delta, looking for Viet Cong, looking for weapons, looking for trouble. We found it every single day. My first patrol was on Christmas Eve, 1968. Holiday didn't mean anything in the Delta. War didn't take breaks. The VC didn't care that it was Christmas. Our boat commander was Lieutenant Patterson, good officer, knew the rivers, knew the enemy, knew how to keep us alive most of the time. The crew was tight. These guys had been running patrols together for months. I was the new guy. The FNG, had to prove myself, had to show I could handle it. We left base around 0600, sun just coming up. The Delta in the morning looked almost peaceful, mist rising off the water, birds calling, green everywhere, like a postcard, like paradise. Then you'd look closer, see the trash floating in the water, see the villages on the riverbanks watching us, see the thick jungle that could hide anything, and you'd remember where you were, what you were doing, how many ways you could die out here. I manned the .50 caliber, my station, my weapon, my responsibility. Scanned the jungle, scanned the riverbanks, scanned everything, looking for threats, looking for movement, looking for the moment before the moment when everything goes to hell. 2 hours into the patrol, we rounded a bend. Small village on the right bank. Maybe a dozen huts. Fishing boats pulled up on shore. People moving around. Normal village scene. Except it wasn't normal. Patterson felt it too. The way the people were moving. Too deliberate. Too aware of us. And nobody was fishing. Nobody was working. They were just watching. Something's wrong, Patterson said quietly. Stay sharp. The first RPG came from the tree line, missed us by maybe 10 feet, hit the water behind the boat, explosion, water shooting up, shrapnel pinging off the hull. Then the machine gun fire started, from the village, from the jungle, from everywhere, tracers coming at us from both sides of the river. The VC had set up an ambush, and we'd driven right into it. "Return fire! Return fire!" Patterson was shouting. The boat's engines roared as our pilot pushed us forward, getting out of the kill zone, getting to speed, making us a harder target. I opened up with the .50 caliber, firing into the jungle, into the village, into anywhere I saw muzzle flashes. The noise was incredible, deafening. The .50 caliber shaking my whole body with every round. I saw a VC fighter, just for a second, in the village, holding an AK-47, firing at us. Young guy, maybe my age. I put the .50 caliber on him, squeezed the trigger. The heavy rounds tore through the hut he was behind, through him. He went down. First person I ever killed. Didn't feel anything, didn't have time. The firefight was still going. More RPGs, more machine gun fire, more noise, more chaos. We made it through, took some hits, holes in the hull, nothing critical, nobody wounded, pure luck. Patterson called it in, called for air support, coordinated with other boats in the area. By the time we circled back with gunships, the village was empty. The VC had melted back into the jungle, gone, like ghosts, like they were never there, except for the bodies. 3 of them, including the guy I shot. We pulled up to inspect. I had to go ashore. Check the bodies, make sure they were actually dead, standard procedure. I walked up to the guy I'd killed. The .50 caliber had torn him apart. He was maybe 19, maybe younger. Dead eyes, staring at nothing. In his pocket, I found a photograph. Him with a woman, his wife maybe, or his girlfriend. Both of them smiling, happy, young people in love. Before the war, before this. I put the photograph back, tried not to think about it, tried not to feel anything. Welcome to the Delta. Days blurred together after that first firefight. Patrols became routine, not safe, never safe, but routine. You learned the rhythm, learned how to spot danger, learned how to survive. Wake up, 0500. Breakfast if you could stomach it. Brief, load the boat, check weapons, check ammunition, check everything. Then out on the river, 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes, patrolling, watching, waiting. The heat was brutal. Over 100 degrees most days. Humidity so thick you felt like you were drowning in air. On the boat, no shade, no relief. Just sun beating down on aluminum deck. Metal so hot it would burn your hand. You'd drink water constantly. Never enough. Always thirsty. Always hot. And the smell. God, the smell. The Delta smelled like death, rotting vegetation, sewage, dead fish. And underneath it all, sometimes the smell of actual death. Bodies in the water, bodies in the jungle, bodies decomposing in the heat. We'd stop boats, sampans, check them for weapons, for supplies. The villagers would look at us with faces that showed nothing. Not hate, not fear, just nothing. You couldn't tell who was VC and who was just trying to survive. Maybe they were both. Maybe everyone was both. You'd search their boats, rice, fish, tools. Nothing obvious. But you knew. You knew some of these sampans were running supplies to the VC, moving weapons, supporting the enemy. But if you couldn't find proof, you couldn't do anything. Had to let them go. Had to smile and wave and watch them disappear into the canals. And maybe that night, those same people would be shooting at you, or planting mines in the river, or setting up ambushes. There was no front line in the Delta, no clear enemy. Just people who might kill you and people who might not, and you couldn't tell the difference. Mines were everywhere. The VC would plant them in the river, in the mud, in the channels we had to use. Command detonated, pressure detonated, just floating in the water, waiting. You never knew when you'd hit one, never knew when the boat would explode underneath you. Happened to Swift Boat 47 in February. They hit a mine in a canal, blew the boat in half, 4 killed instantly, 2 wounded. We were first on scene. Got there maybe 10 minutes after. The water was full of debris, fuel, parts of the boat, parts of the crew. One of the survivors, a kid named Jenkins, was screaming, not from pain, from seeing his friends torn apart, from watching the boat sink, from being in the water, in that brown death water, with pieces of his buddies floating around him. We pulled them out, got them to medevac. Jenkins survived physically, but I heard he lost it mentally, got sent home, medical discharge, combat fatigue, like it was temporary, like you'd rest and feel better. You didn't feel better. Not from seeing that. Not ever. The VC would use kids sometimes, children, 8, 10 years old. They'd wave at you from the riverbank, smile, look innocent, then throw a grenade or open fire, using kids because they knew we'd hesitate, knew we'd try not to shoot children. It worked until it didn't, until you learned the hard way that hesitation gets you killed, that anyone could be the enemy, anyone, even children. I saw a kid, maybe 12, throw a grenade at a patrol boat. Missed. The boat opened up. Kid went down. I heard the gunner throwing up afterward. Heard him crying. He was 19 years old. Had to kill a child to stay alive. How do you live with that? You don't. You just carry it. Add it to the pile. Add it to all the other impossible choices. All the other moments when you had to be something less than human to survive. Willie Jackson was my best friend on the boat. Big guy from New Orleans. Always had a joke. Always trying to keep morale up. We'd run patrols together for 8 months. Got each other through the worst days. The heat, the fear, the constant threat of dying in that brown water. July 1969. We were running a patrol in a canal, narrow, jungle thick on both sides, no room to maneuver. If we got hit here, we were trapped. Everyone knew it. Everyone was tense. Willie was on the forward gun. I was on the .50 caliber. We came around a bend. Sampan ahead. Old man and a woman just floating there, waiting. It felt wrong immediately. Why would they be there? Why weren't they moving? Patterson ordered them to come alongside, standard check. Willie was watching them, watching close. I could see his body language. Something was wrong. The old man reached into the sampan. Willie saw it, saw what he was reaching for. Gun, gun. Willie opened fire. So did I. So did everyone. The sampan exploded, secondary explosion. They'd been carrying explosives, planning to blow us up. Suicide mission. Willie's instinct saved us all. We pulled up to check. The old man was dead. The woman was dying, blood coming from her mouth. And she smiled. Actually smiled. Looked right at Willie and smiled. Then died. Willie stared at her, at that smile, at what it meant. She was happy. Happy to die if it meant trying to kill us. Happy to be a weapon. Happy to give her life for the cause. What kind of war is this? Willie said quietly. What are we even fighting? I didn't have an answer. None of us did. That smile haunted Willie. I could see it in his eyes after. Every patrol, every contact, every sampan we stopped, he'd be looking for that smile again, looking for that willingness to die, looking for the proof that we were fighting people who couldn't be defeated because they didn't fear death, because they welcomed it. 2 weeks later, Willie put in for early rotation. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't keep killing people who were willing to die just to take one of us with them. Couldn't keep fighting a war that made no sense. Couldn't keep patrolling that brown water knowing every sampan, every village, every face could be death. He went home, got out of the Navy as soon as he could. I heard from him once after that, called me in 1971. He wasn't doing well, drinking, can't hold a job, can't sleep, can't function. The Delta broke him. That woman's smile broke him. I see her every night, he told me. Every goddamn night, that smile. She beat me, Danny. She didn't kill me, but she beat me. I understood. because I saw her too, still do. That smile, that acceptance of death, that willingness to die for the cause. It meant we could never win, could never break them, could never do anything except keep killing and keep dying until somebody decided to stop. And nobody was stopping. The war just kept going, kept grinding, kept breaking people like Willie, like Jenkins, like all of us who patrolled those rivers. My tour was 13 months, December 1968 to January 1970. 400 and something days on the Mekong Delta. 400 days of brown water and ambushes and heat and death. I lost count of the firefights, lost count of the bodies, lost count of the villages we searched, lost count of the sampans we stopped, lost count of everything except the days. Just counting days until I could leave, until I could go home, until I could be anywhere except that goddamn river. My last patrol was January 15th, 1970. 3 days before my rotation date. 3 days before I could leave. I almost didn't go, almost told them I was sick. But you don't do that. You don't leave your crew short. You finish what you started. It was a quiet patrol. No contact, no ambushes. Just cruising the rivers, checking villages, standard procedure. The Delta almost looked peaceful that day. Almost looked like the postcard again. But I couldn't see it anymore. Couldn't see anything except threats. Couldn't see the beauty. Just saw places where people could hide. Places where mines could be planted. Places where we could die. Patterson came up to me at the end of the patrol. You made it, Martinez. 13 months, going home in 3 days. Yes, sir. You did good work here. Kept your head. Kept your crew alive. That's all anyone can ask. I nodded. Didn't know what to say. Didn't feel like I'd done good work. Just felt like I'd survived. Barely. And left pieces of myself in that brown water that I'd never get back. The Delta changes you, Patterson said. All of us. We're not the same people who came here. Can't be. But you survived. That's what matters. But survival didn't feel like it mattered. Didn't feel like victory. Felt like I'd just delayed something. Delayed the breaking. Delayed the cost. Because the Delta doesn't let you go. Not really. It stays with you. In your head. In your dreams. In your soul. I flew out January 18th. Couldn't believe it. 13 months and I'd made it. I was going home, alive. In one piece. One of the lucky ones. The plane lifted off from Tan Son Nhut. I looked out the window. Watched Vietnam disappear below. Watched the rivers snake through the green. The brown water mixing with green jungle. From up there it looked small. Looked harmless. Looked like just another place. But I knew better. I knew what was down there. I knew what lived in that water. What died in it. What haunted it. I knew I was leaving, but I wasn't really leaving. That I'd carry the Delta with me forever. The smell, the heat, the fear, the faces. The woman who smiled, Jenkins screaming, Willie's broken eyes. All of it. Forever. It's 1972 now, 2 years since I came home. I'm 25 years old, got a job, got an apartment, got a life on paper. But I'm not really here. Part of me is still on that swift boat, still on the Mekong Delta, still patrolling those brown rivers, still watching the jungle, still waiting for the ambush, still smelling that smell. I can't swim anymore, can't even look at water without feeling it. That brown death water, that hostile river that took so many. I live in the desert now, as far from water as I can get, but it doesn't matter. The Delta is in my head, in my dreams, in my waking thoughts. I have nightmares about the river, about ambushes, about Willie shooting that woman, about Jenkins screaming in the water surrounded by pieces of his friends, about the kid who threw the grenade, about the first guy I killed, about all of them. I wake up smelling that brown water, smelling rot and death and jungle, even in the desert, even in the dry air. I smell it. It's in my lungs, in my pores, in my soul. Nobody understands. My family tries. Friends try. But how do you explain the Mekong Delta to someone who's never been there? How do you explain what it's like to patrol rivers where everything wants to kill you, where the water itself is hostile, where children throw grenades and old women smile while dying? You can't. So you don't try. You just say it was tough and move on. Pretend you're fine. Pretend the Delta didn't mark you permanently. The war is still going, still on TV every night, still controversial, still dividing the country. People find out I'm a veteran. Some thank me, some spit, some call me baby killer, war criminal, murderer. Maybe they're right. Maybe we were. Who knows anymore? All I know is I did what I had to do to survive. Followed orders. Tried to stay alive. Tried to keep my crew alive. Nothing more complicated than that. But it was complicated. It was all complicated. Every decision, every choice, every trigger pull, every dead face. All of it complicated and impossible and something I'd carry forever. The Mekong Delta took everything. Not all at once. Slowly. Over 13 months. Taking pieces. Taking parts of you until there's nothing left but this hollow thing that looks like a person but isn't anymore. It took my innocence, took any belief that war makes sense, that there are good guys and bad guys, that you can tell the difference. Took any idea that following orders absolves you, that doing your duty means you're doing the right thing. It took my ability to trust, to relax, to feel safe. I can't be around crowds, can't handle loud noises, can't sleep without checking exits, can't exist without constantly scanning for threats. The Delta taught me that safety is an illusion, that death can come from anywhere, from anyone, from that smiling woman, from that waving child, from that peaceful-looking sampan. It took my future, not literally. I'm alive. I have time. But what am I supposed to do with it? How am I supposed to build a normal life when part of me is still on that river? Still patrolling, still fighting, still waiting for the ambush that never ends? Willie understood. That's why he called. That's why he couldn't function, because the Delta doesn't let you go. It keeps you patrolling those brown waters forever. Keeps you smelling that smell. Keeps you seeing that smile. Keeps you waiting for the mine, for the RPG, for the moment when everything explodes and you die in that hostile water. I survived the Mekong Delta, but I didn't beat it. Nobody beats it. You just carry it. Carry the brown water, carry the heat, carry the faces, carry the impossible choices. Carry the knowledge that you killed people who might have been innocent. Carry the guilt of surviving when Jenkins' friends didn't, when that kid didn't, when all those VC fighters didn't. Carry it all, forever, until it crushes you or you learn to exist underneath the weight. I'm still learning, still trying, still failing most days. The Vietnam War is still going, still killing, still destroying. American boys still dying in the jungle, in the paddies, on the rivers. For what? For why? Nobody knows anymore. Nobody can explain it. It just keeps going, keeps grinding up lives, keeps breaking people. And those of us who made it out, we're still there, still fighting, still patrolling, still on that river, still smelling that smell, still waiting for the ambush, the Brown Water Navy. They made it sound almost fun, made it sound like an adventure, made it sound like something you'd want to do. But it wasn't fun. It wasn't adventure. It was hell. Hell on a river. Hell in brown water. Hell that smells like rotten death and never leaves you. I came home in 1970. But I'm still on the Mekong Delta. Still manning that .50 caliber. Still watching the jungle. Still waiting for the RPG. Still smelling that water. Still dying, just taking longer about it. That's what the Delta does. It kills you slowly. Not with bullets, not with mines. With memory, with nightmares. With that smell you can't wash off. With that brown water that's in your lungs forever. I survived. But survival isn't living. It's just not dying yet. And I'm still not sure which is worse.